Deep Work by Cal Newport. Section 1. A World That Forgot How to Focus. There was a time when work felt solid. You sat down, you gave your attention to something meaningful, and hours passed without you noticing. When you stood up, you felt tired, but satisfied. Something real had been created. That world slowly disappeared. Now, work feels fragmented. A few minutes of effort, then a glance at the phone, a notification, an email, a message that says quick question, but is never quick. You start the day with intention, but by evening, you're unsure what you actually accomplished. The modern worker is busy but not fulfilled. Cal Newport doesn't begin his story with blame. He begins with an observation. He notices that people are working longer than ever, yet feeling less valuable. They attend meetings, reply instantly, stay visible online, but their best abilities remain untouched. Focus has become rare, and because it is rare, it has become powerful. Deep work is not about grinding harder. It's about returning to a forgotten state, where the mind stays with one thing long enough to matter, where skill is built quietly, where value is created invisibly before it ever shows up in results. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their attention is constantly divided. Section 2. The quiet advantage no one talks about. In every profession, there are a few people who seem almost untouched by chaos. While others rush and react, these people move slowly, calmly, deliberately, and somehow they produce work that stands out. They are not more intelligent. They are not working more hours. They are simply harder to distract. Cal describes knowledge workers who shut themselves away, not physically always, but mentally. They carve time where the world cannot reach them. During these hours, their thinking deepens. Connections form. Problems untangle themselves. This is where breakthroughs come from. Deep work feels uncomfortable at first. The mind resists silence. It craves stimulation. When distractions disappear, unease appears. Many people mistake this discomfort for boredom, or assume something is wrong. But this discomfort is a sign of growth. Just like muscles ache before becoming stronger, the mind struggles before becoming sharper. The people who push through this phase gain an edge that compounds over time. While others skim, they dive. While others react, they create. And slowly, without announcing it, they become indispensable. Section 3. The Trap of Being Always Available. Modern workplaces reward visibility, not depth. Responding quickly feels productive. Being seen online feels necessary. Saying yes to every request feels safe. Over time, this creates a culture where attention is scattered and shallow work dominates the day. Cal calls this the trap of busyness. You may feel important, needed, in demand, but none of that guarantees meaningful output. In fact, constant availability slowly destroys the ability to do real work. Each interruption resets the mind. Focus fractures. Thinking remains on the surface. The tragedy is that shallow work feels urgent, while deep work feels optional. Emails demand replies. Messages demand acknowledgement. Deep thinking asks for silence, and silence feels like laziness in a noisy world. So people avoid it, and then they wonder why progress feels slow. Section 4. What focus actually does to the brain. Focus is not just a preference, it's a biological process. When attention stays on one task, the brain begins forming stronger connections. Ideas become clearer. Learning accelerates. Skills deepen. The mind enters a state where effort feels lighter, even as difficulty increases. This is why deep work feels satisfying afterward. It leaves a residue, a quiet sense that time was well spent. Shallow work leaves the opposite feeling: exhaustion without fulfillment, activity without progress. The brain becomes what it repeatedly practices. If it practices distraction, it becomes restless. If it practices focus, it becomes powerful. This is not motivation, this is training. Section 5. Why deep work feels hard now. Deep work didn't disappear overnight. It was replaced slowly. Phones became smarter, platforms became louder, workflows became reactive. The mind adapted, not for depth, but for speed. Now, when silence appears, the brain panics. This is why many people say, "I can't focus like I used to." They're not broken. They're untrained. Focus is a skill. And like any skill, it fades without use. The good news is that skills can be rebuilt. Section 6. Creating a world where focus can survive. Cal noticed that deep workers don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. They decide in advance when focus happens, where it happens, for how long. They remove choice from the equation. This is important because the distracted mind cannot be trusted to choose focus in the moment. By building rituals, same time, same place, same intention, the mind learns to settle faster. Resistance fades. Entry into deep work becomes smoother. Over time, these sessions become sacred, not because they are dramatic, but because they are rare. Section 7. The role of boredom. One of the most surprising ideas in deep work is the value of boredom. Cal explains that constantly filling small gaps with stimulation weakens focus. Every time boredom appears and is immediately erased, the brain learns that silence is dangerous. But boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the doorway to deeper thought. Allowing the mind to sit without input strengthens attention. It teaches patience. It rebuilds the ability to stay with one thing. This is why deep workers protect idle moments, not scrolling, not checking, just being. Section 8. Working less, producing more. Deep work doesn't mean longer hours. In fact, it often leads to fewer. When effort is focused, work compresses. Tasks that once took days shrink into hours. Clarity replaces confusion. Energy is spent wisely. This is why many high performers stop earlier than others. They are not lazy. They are efficient at the highest level. Section 9. A different relationship with work. As deep work becomes habitual, something shifts. Work stops feeling like a battle. It becomes a craft. Pride replaces anxiety. Satisfaction replaces urgency. The mind feels calmer, even when challenges grow larger. And perhaps most importantly, identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who reacts. You begin seeing yourself as someone who builds. Section 10. The quiet ending. Cal doesn't end with hype. He ends with a quiet truth. In a world that profits from distraction, choosing focus is an act of resistance. In a culture that rewards noise, choosing depth is a form of clarity. Deep work will never trend. It will never announce itself. But it will always matter. And those who practice it, quietly, patiently, will shape the future while others wonder where their time went. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing to Thinkora Audio, where ideas are not rushed and thinking is allowed to go deep. And if you'd like to experience the book in its original form, click the link in the description to purchase the book and support the channel.